Hi there. So in this vlog, I'm sharing a process that I've walked and that I'm still in the process of walking, wherein I'm taking on a specific emotional reaction that I found within myself, being jealousy, and I am taking specific steps and applying specific tools to be able to change this emotional reaction of jealousy in a real way. In a real way, meaning that I found that the specific tools that I'm applying are very effective in being able to firstly understand my own mind and understand, for instance, how jealousy works within the mind. Because, within the realization and understanding that jealousy is like a system, meaning that jealousy is like something that not only exists in my mind, but it exists in the mind of other people as well. So it's like when I say the word jealousy, everybody knows what I'm talking about because you know what jealousy feels like, which means that jealousy has a specific design that exists inside of the mind. And if it has a design, then that means that that design can be investigated and unraveled and understood. So there are specific tools that you can apply wherein you can in fact look at, for instance, an emotional experience and reaction of jealousy and start investigating it and start understanding how it works for yourself. And then from the point of understanding how it works, you can start changing it. You can start finding ways to be able to change who you are in relation to jealousy. Like finding ways wherein you create this stability inside of yourself in relation to not allowing the design of jealousy to have power over you. Because what I found with myself is that as long as I don't understand something that exists in my own mind, as long as I don't actually see what the things are that exist in my mind, then it will just come up and I will get carried away by it. And it will be able to influence me because I don't know what's happening to me. And I don't see what's going on. So from the moment that I start seeing what's actually existing inside of myself, and from the moment that I start realizing what my personal relationship is to what exists inside of myself, I do actually have the power to change it. And I do have the power to change my relationship to it because I understand what's going on. So, in relation to jealousy, I've actually written a blog about this where I share in more detail and specificity the specific tools that I've applied of self-investigative writing, firstly, then applying self-forgiveness in writing and speaking. So, the self-forgiveness statements that I've shared in my writing, I've also spoken aloud for myself while I was writing it. And then self-corrective statements, also written and spoken. And the process that I'm still walking after having applied those tools is where I'm basically now kind of checking myself and assessing where I stand now in relation to the emotional experience of jealousy. Because, these tools and applying these tools is not like, what I've realized for myself is that the first step is always like making myself aware of the fact that this something that I'm investigating exists inside of myself. And then second step is making myself aware of how it works so that the next time it comes up, I can recognize it and I can become aware of it, and I can, for myself, either within the moment see, like, oh my God, I'm experiencing jealousy, or, I can actually see the specific thoughts activating and the emotions activating, and it's like I can see the system working, and in that moment I can make myself aware of it and stop myself, or after the moment I can look back and see what happened. And then from that point I again apply specific tools and take specific steps so that eventually I will be able to stand completely stable inside of myself in relation to, for instance, the emotional experience of jealousy. I mean, it takes a process of creating that stability, but it is possible. You know, it's actually based on kind of simple physical laws according to, you know, exactly the way that this emotional experience of jealousy has developed itself within me all throughout my life. You know, it's a specific system, has a specific design that introduced itself somewhere in my life, and I started participating in it somewhere in my life, and eventually it built itself up into what it is now. So, you know, in order to be able to change it, obviously I will have to walk a similar process of, you know, firstly investigating it, making myself aware of how it works, and then going over into practically finding solutions and ways to change it and change myself in relation to it. So those first steps is what I have shared in my blog that I've written, and, you know, so far I'm quite satisfied with that, where I now am at a point of seeing and understanding how jealousy works and functions within the mind, where, for instance, you know, I can see the consequences of it as this vicious cycle where I'm making myself inferior inside of myself the more I step into jealousy reactions towards other women, because when I become jealous, you know, what I'm actually doing in my mind, it's like I'm looking at other women, and in my mind, I'm creating these thoughts and ideas of who they are. Like, oh my God, they're so beautiful, or look at what they're wearing, or wow, she's so attractive, or she's so resonating this power and control and expression and sexuality, or whatever it is. It's like I'm creating this kind of glorified image in my mind of another woman, and then it's like I'm looking at that image in my mind, and inside of myself I go into inferiority because I think, you know, I'm not like that. I don't have that. You know, I'm not that pretty. I'm not that attractive. I'm not that expressive, whatever it is. And then, you know, instead of being honest with myself about the fact that I feel inferior, what do? I go into jealousy, which is like reacting to my own inferiority by then kind of going into a reaction of hate and anger and resentment towards this woman, where I then want to like almost destroy this woman, and I want to bring this woman down just because I feel inferior, and because I don't want to feel inferior, and because I think that if I bring her down, then I won't feel inferior anymore. You know, but what I'm actually doing is locking myself into that inferiority by reacting to it, instead of being honest with myself, firstly, about what's going on inside of myself. You know, as the fact that it's me creating ideas and opinions and judgments about the expression of someone else. And it's me reacting emotionally to those ideas in my own mind. So if I then go react emotionally to my own emotions, to my own emotional reactions, to my own thoughts, you know, obviously I'm going to create this kind of prison inside of myself wherein I lock myself into my own emotional reactions, my own self-perceived inferiority, which, you know, in itself is quite self-sabotaging and absurd. So that is, you know, the basic kind of structure that I realized for myself in terms of how jealousy works and the consequences that it has on who I am as a being inside of myself, which I've laid out and shared and written out in more detail in my blog. So I would invite you to go and have a look at my blog and consider applying the same steps if what I'm sharing is something that you can recognize within yourself. And so, give yourself the opportunity to start realizing that you actually have the power to change who you are inside of yourself, and to start realizing that, our emotional experiences that exist inside of ourselves may look at first glance quite innocent, or it may look like, it's just jealousy, Nobody knows, and what does it matter if I feel jealous? And it's not like I'm a bad person, I'm not going to express it. It may look innocent and harmless, but, we don't realize the extent to which we're actually harming and compromising ourselves through our own participation within specific emotional reactions and thoughts inside our own mind. Because we don't investigate it, because we don't understand how our own mind works, we also don't see that many of the problems that we experience within ourselves, many of our internal conflicts, are actually the consequence of specific thoughts and emotional reactions and feelings that we are accepting and allowing ourselves to participate in on a daily basis in the back of our mind, like where we don't really see what we're doing because we believe that it's all harmless. So this was me for today. Thank you very much.